Hi, so here's my cumulative skills portfolio. First up, I'll start with the introduction. The first thing I want to say is that there's one thing young people all have in common, and that's that they go to school. Once they're there, they learn how to make friends and they gain new experiences which they hadn't tried before. One of these experiences is oftentimes smoking. Most people have tried it, and as fun as it might sound, sometimes it's often linked with delinquency and bad grades, which is art criticism for such as something so small that's not really affecting the mind that much. But when you're young, it does in some ways. So anyway, previous researches have also shown that like there is some bad effects and it's mostly caused by peer pressure. And we do think they're right too. Smoking does affect our students' academics, according to what we think. Uh, yeah, and that's mostly it. Well, what got people into smoking would also be interesting to look into because it might not be what we think it is, and we could find a bigger problem while looking into this. And realizing that students who smoke are not actually their problem is actually what we want to find out through this survey because it's just blaming them when there's a reason why they do what they do. And with this oral, next up you'll see how that's possible and how we found some results proving our points in the next few slides. Okay, I'll just go straight to findings because I don't think my team is doing the work and this was just my two parts. Anyway, the findings. We first found that wasn't due to peer pressure like the researchers had found and what we also thought was true because of it. It's actually stress, which is in some ways pretty alarming. So because yeah, you don't want stressed students. That's just not fun, and it's not it kills motivation and grades sometimes. So it's hard to see if it's really smoking that affects them or it like stress. So we were wrong about thinking that it did affect the students' academics because according to our survey, most people said that it doesn't affect their grades at all, or they don't think so at least, or that it only affects their motivation a bit. They would say they're a bit lazier, but that's about it. That's not a big enough point to say that it does affect them negatively. So back on the stress thing. So yes, we do blame students for smoking and having bad grades, but what we don't usually ask ourselves is why did they start in the first place? And we found that it was because of stress they had. This is just a way for them to cope with it, and it might not be a good one, but that's the one they found in the middle of all this school system thing. What? Yeah, and this isn't so great. So this could prove that they're not the only problem, and that could be something bigger. But there's also a trend that it says that for some people, smoking is actually good. They've found that they're more social because they smoke with their friends. It's an activity they do and they get closer. And sometimes when you start smoking, you get into circles and you have to just talk with the person smoking next to you. And that in some way is pretty good. Uh, One surprising thing though was that people smoke more than just cigarettes. They also smoke weed and they vape all at the same time. Mostly people just don't smoke just cigarettes now. I we would have thought that they vape too, but with this with the sudden rise in popularity in the next few years, but the fact that they all smoke weed also makes sense because they're stressed, as we said before. We did the last thing we did find that was really not that great is that most people think that attending Cégep du Vieux-Montréal has made them try to smoke more. Well, not try, but smoke more and just be influenced by its reputation because the Cégep has a reputation that most people smoke weed. And so with this, smoker come to this school hoping to just have fun and smoke a lot maybe. But then it affects the students who just came for a certain program because they're influenced by seeing people smoke in front of the school all the time. So one negatively affects the other, and that's because of the school. So we cannot only blame what it looks like. And that's about it. Thank you. I'll just stop this. And yes.